At least I'm pretty sure that's how Fortnite goes.
Mm-hmm. Seems reasonable.
That's how it. Whenever I watch someone, I've never played it myself, but whenever I watch someone play Fortnite, it's like, boy, there's this game is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's many things all happening at once. Was there any in-game indication of actual weapon stats? Yes, but you know, heat of battle and all that. Like, you don't really have time to stop and be like, no, let me think here.
All right, so we're good.
I believe that is the extent of the nudes. Anything
Yeah.
else? Great.
No, I had no other news.
Local recording stopped?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can tell Heather. Boop. All right. Paul will join us, and I will pull this thing up. So yeah, the National Federation of State High Schools is writing up all the rules for esports because they're going to add the esports.
Because everybody's doing the esports.
Now there was a weird quote from the article that Paul noticed that I wanted to get into, but there wasn't really a good opportunity in the flow of the story to address it. We know esports isn't just up and coming, it's here. We believe if we can have a partner with an esports-focused company to help us facilitate this, it is much better for students to be behind the education walls between the hours of 2:30 to 5:30 versus being at home or at a friend's home.
Yeah.
Also, what school
think
ends at
that's-
2:30 in the afternoon?
I don't know, but I think that's
9
a
to
very
3.
I think
Am I
that's
old?
a very strange a very strange stance.
Well,
that like
Yeah,
we
like,
would like
Don't go over to your friend's place.
yeah, if you're going to be playing video games, we'd rather you do it at school rather than at home or at a friend's house.
I think they might be targeting kids who like come from like less than good home environments, right? That like maybe don't have access to the consoles that are going to run these these sort of games anyhow, or like a computer. But there are, say, people who are, you know, involved in like drug dealings or criminal activity.
8 to 2:30.
Huh.
I got it at 3:30. Yeah, I guess it's weird. I mean, my school was 8 to 3.
Yeah. Ours was 3 or 2 on Fridays.
Mm-hmm. We had an extra hour of class every day, and then we had longer holidays.
7:30 to 2:15. Wait,
seems
we're
very
banned?
early.
Must be banned. 'Cause,
7
yeah,
to 1:45.
We had a weird block system where
5 a.m. to
7
noon.
a.m. is wow. I never would have made it to
There was,
high
like,
school if my school started at 7.
we had a weird block system where there was like 8 blocks, and they'd be arranged over the course of the week, right? So you'd have 5 blocks a day. You'd have like 1, 2, 3, lunch, 4, 5. But in the higher grades, because it was 8 through 12 when I did high school. There was no middle schools. It was high school was 8 through 12. In the higher grades, you'd do stuff by semester, and you'd have one class would take up more than one block, right? So like social studies would be A and B block.
That's really weird.
So you'd have it a lot over the course of the week, but it also meant that once a week you'd have it before and after lunch, right? Like it would spread the lunch break. So you'd like sit down, do an hour of social studies, leave all your stuff, go get lunch, come back, and continue.
Oh, how do you guarantee you get kids coming back to that class?
Well, so what was fun was if you had a spare block, if you arranged your courses so that you had a spare block, then you had class, nothing, lunch, nothing. So you just go home. Or at least I did, because I lived really close to the school, or go hang around with my friends. The only danger there is the last class of the day. Can you imagine? You do class, and then you've got nothing for like almost 3.5 hours. Are you really going to want to go back to your one last hour of English AP?
Yeah, my high school, 8 classes, 4 one semester, 4 another. So it went, you had A and B, lunch, C and D, right? And so the secret tech was to get A as a spare, so you didn't have to show up.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely having a spare earlier in the day was great too.
I
Show up late.
I've told this story before. In grade 12, I dropped acting because I thought, what good will this class possibly do me? I'd much rather sleep in. So you show up late, you go to B block, you go to lunch, which involved going to the Sears coffee shop to drink coffee, and then you skip C&D is how grade 12 went for me. Yeah.
Yeah, the basically everything at my school was designed to sort of circumvent that. For one thing, you couldn't. There was a homeroom first thing in the morning where they actually like took attendance. They had to go to.
Yeah, that we did. We had that between first and second class.
And then you had classes, but also they ran the classes on a 6-day cycle. So like the same block of classes didn't appear on the same day every week. But they had this thing where the days were longer than normal, so that whenever public schools had a 3-day weekend, we had a 4-day weekend. Because the international students, so they had like a day to travel, 2 days with their family, and then a day to get back.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I preferred it at the end of the day. Well, that's the thing, because with our thing with it cycling, with the week, having the blocks spread out differently over the days. If you had that double block spare, that one day of the week spread the lunch, that also meant that you were almost assuredly had 1 day a week that you could come in late and 1 day a week that you could leave early.
Right.
So if you get double block spare, it's a good thing. Anyway, you had to not need the classes. So it's sort of, you had to...
Yeah, it turns out you don't need electives to graduate. You just need like the normal, like as
That's
long
why
as you
they're called
take
electives.
as long as you take enough classes, you can graduate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd set myself up for success in that regard. Like I'd put myself in a position where I didn't need to take a full course in grade 12.
A full course load.
Yeah, full course load. So. Anyway.
Yeah.
How many people in Lure have college degrees? A lot of us.
Behind the walls of education.
A bunch of us.
Yeah, the Fortnite, everyone destroyed, I saw a video of this. I mean, before the videos when we were looking at this story, yeah, that everyone destroyed tilted towers. They haven't actually explained what the comet
No,
but now there's little meteors that are
we talked
coming
about
down,
this during just when we were doing the CheckPoint I guess it was last week?
2 weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago? Yeah. But we talked about this a little bit. It was this thing where this comet just sort of appeared. And people are surmising that's what it is. They're sort of making
it's based on like Reddit speculation from one guy who made a joke map. Like it has no basis in reality as far as
people are surmising that's what it is. People are guessing that's what it is.
I guess.
That's what I said.
As a non-Fortniter, is Tilted Towers like... Is it like school in PUBG? Like, is it like a high traffic landing zone where a lot of early game fracas occurs?
I think the idea is
is it central? Like, why is everyone like Comet? Obviously there.
I think it's because it's a place that clearly needs a redesign.
Ah, okay. Into a crater?
Well, no. The idea is that
they're
assuming it's going to be like destroyed, and then a new thing is going to be put there. But it'll just sort of be destroyed as part of the, like WoW Cataclysm or whatever.
It's where half the people die immediately. Okay, so it's cool, or mill base or whatever.
It's Pachinki.
All of these options make sense. And then the shotgun thing is really interesting. Now that pump shotguns have the color coding of a higher level item than they did before, people are just mentally being like, oh yeah, purple, okay, that's better than green, so I'm gonna use it. And so they're just using pump shotguns more, so pump shotgun kill rate has gone up way high.
Red makes things go faster.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, they haven't changed the stats of them at all, it's just people are using them more, so there's way more kills. And they said, they're like, yeah, we expected that to happen. We didn't expect it to happen this much. Like, it's to an extent that's way higher than they predicted.
Sorry, just had to respond to an urgent message in Slack.
I see. And then the Doom Friends.
Oh, apparently under the map there is a meteor. Okay, well.
Under the map?
As in, like, they found some, you know, I guess extra data to indicate that maybe there's something going to happen.
Yeah.
Fortnite didn't have a Tilted Towers at first, and then it did have a Tilted Towers, and now everyone dies there.
I mean, maybe that's working as intended. Maybe they just want a death trap on their map. Maybe they're going to replace it with 2 great jaws that just open and close and just, like, send people into, like, a gristle mill.
It would not be...
With, like, a big effluent pipe shooting hot dogs out into a lake.
That would not be outside the realm of...
It's Fortnite!
What is, normal for Fortnite.
It's goofy.
Yeah.
I did actually read another article that, like, long-time Fortnite players are like, there's probably a little bit, like, too much new stuff being added to Fortnite.
Yeah.
Because they keep, doing, like...
The Port-a-Fort is bonkers.
I mean, it's super neat.
It's neat, but, yeah. Oh, and then coming up, so, Serious Sam, for anyone who never played Serious Sam when it first came out in 2001...
Great game.
Yeah, it was super fun, and it was really interesting, because Crow Team was just a very small indie developer, like a handful of people in a basement in Croatia, wasn't it? Like, isn't that why they're called Crow Team? Like,
I don't know.
Anyway, and the technology behind Serious Sam was very impressive at the time. These massive environments, and yes, a lot of them were deserts, so like not super interesting looking, but these massive environments full of tons and tons of enemies was like there was no game like that, and there hasn't really been one since, except for other Serious Sam games. And so when they're like Serious Sam 4, subtitled Planet Badass, is going to have offer an even bigger scale, and they even said and no desert maps, is sort of like bigger than what? Like Serious Sam's already huge, and so I mean I just assume it's an entire planet.
Yeah. Serious Sam.
No Man's Sky, but with people you have to shoot.
Serious Sam, like, it's to me, it's like the epitome of sort of first-person shooter as almost not puzzle game, but almost as like tactical game, because like there were in the original Serious Sam there weren't that many different types of enemies. There were maybe like a dozen different types of enemies. But the conceit basically of the game was that the bad guy, whoever he was, could teleport enemies in.
Yeah.
And so it was all just about like combining these various enemies in like different ways. So like, you'd fight like a whole ton of like the guys who explode when they go like, ah! But then you'd fight like the guys who explode, but then they'd be backed up by like a different, like it would be sort of like a combined arms thing.
The weird like skeleton
and
horse things that also chucked
all different, they would combine the bad guys in like different waves and different ways that would create unique challenges. And so that was sort of like the level design was never like what you were there for. The story was never what you were there for.
No. The story was it was very Duke Nukem, right? It was just like those alien
Smash TV, but for FPS. Yeah, kind of. And in a lot of ways, Serious Sam is sort of like what Duke Nukem kind of should have been.
Yeah.
In terms of just like ridiculous goofiness.
I'm excited to see what Serious Sam 4 is going to be.
My favorite.
They're going to show it off at E3 apparently. So.
There was always the best weapon was there was the cannon. There's like this.
Oh yeah.
This big cannon.
It's a full cannon.
And the like description on it was that it was just like you fire it and it just like fires not that fast but just kind of rolls.
A giant cannonball just comes out
I've
in front
never
of you
played Serious Sam.
And just rolls through and knocks people over as it goes.
What's that?
I've never played Serious Sam, so I have nothing to add to this discussion.
The cannonball was really funny.
But it was the description of it was like it uses depleted uranium shells. The fact that the actual cannon was like this giant like lead and cast iron thing protects the user from the radiation, and it was not considered to be a big problem for the people you were shooting it at.
Yeah. It's like, well.
In other news, PUBG is getting map selection.
Yeah, so it's...
In the news about the other game that all of the high schoolers are playing, you can now not go to the desert map that everyone hates.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's the way that they're doing the map selection. I think it's an interesting way that they're handling it. Is rather than saying I want to play on this map, it'll give you a list. There's a picture, but they're like, this is not necessarily how the final UI is going to look. It'll give you a list because they're going to launch their third map soon, and you just check the maps that you are okay playing, right? And so it's like, say you want to play 2 of the 3, so you turn on.
So it's not just selection. It's actually like it's still random as long as you have more than one checked.
Yeah. So what they've said is you say I'm okay playing Edrangle and Savage, whatever they end up calling Savage, or Erangel and Savage. Then when you hit play, it randomly picks one of those. It picks one of the, or if you say all 3, because I don't care, it'll randomly pick one of the ones that you have selected as okay, and then put you in a queue for that game, or for that map. So.
I mean, considering the lengths that people were going to avoid playing on the desert map,
it got better, to be honest. But yeah, you do, that game does tend to start with like 85 players, because about 15 or so every game will be like, nope, and bail out. So, what happens if you're the only one that picks the map that no one likes? Well, they've said that there's enough players to support it, so I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, if there are like 3 maps, and one map is picked by one out of the 100,000 people who are playing, then yeah, I guess they have a problem.
Yeah.
Clearly that map is not a very successful map.
I like it though. I mean, I think the way I see myself using it is just leaving all the maps on, and then if we get like, if like I'm squatting with some people and we get Miramar like 4 times in a row, then it's like, all right, for this next one, I'm just gonna uncheck Miramar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
Alex, you're just there eating chicken by yourself.
Do you need a new
Sega CD case? Remember Sega CD cases? They were like regular jewel cases, which I remind you, if you didn't play video games in like the 90s, 2000s, would just fucking shatter at the slightest like, do you remember your like 4-disc Final Fantasy VII cases where just like everything would break apart and all the CDs would fall out?
Sega CD cases actually are they're
yeah,
full
but
height.
like but they're even worse. Like that's for a normal one, and the Sega CD ones apparently like were even more fragile and shitty.
A CD?
I think we have a few in the other office.
It was like this big and quite thin and could store like 800 megs. You put it, I know. So yeah, there's a story on Kotaku about how there are now 2 competing people who are making new replacement Sega CD jewel cases
for collectors.
For collectors to replace the ones that have broken and shattered over the years.
And
the hinge.
There's
how many broken hinges do you have?
The story of these
so many. They're all broken.
The story of these 2 collectors, one of them is like a guy who's just a collector of Sega CD games, realized that there was a need there, and got figured out how to get some molds made in China and got the whole thing set up.
Yeah.
And then the other one, the company that actually like makes retro games and re-releases and stuff, and again saw that the need was there. But unfortunately, it's one of these things where they both came up with this idea, both like searched around extensively to see whether there was anybody that had these available, and was like, okay, there isn't anybody available. I'm going to put a bunch of money into this in order to make molds.
Yeah,
and do all this stuff.
One guy just basically went to China, had a bunch of like...
It was like, here is a jewel case, make a mold of this.
And they're like, okay. And then like just has some like inexpensive molds. And the other guy whose cases haven't come out yet has been doing like tons of research and like making like basically the Ferrari of Sega CD jewel cases.
And actually,
and they're made
doing work with the original with the original manufacturers.
Cost him a ton of money. Like he's put his own money into this. Like they're not going to be made out of like that crappy plastic that like shatters if you huff on it too hard. Like they're actually going to have
like acrylic and all fancy.
And apparently both of them were like operating by themselves and like checking online occasionally and being like, still nobody else is doing this? Okay. All right, cool. And then they both went to market like basically at the same time, and they're both like, "Oh, fuck."
So the good news is, if you're in the mood in the market for Sega CD cases, the market is going to be kind of glutted. The bad news is, if you happen to be one of these two guys, you kind of got in a bit of a problem.
Yeah. What else was in the news this week?
Hey, fans of Glover. All
who?
Three of you.
What?
Glover.
Not Danny Glover.
The
video game.
Everyone's a fan of Danny Glover. No, Glover the video game. It was a platformer. The character was a glove. Glover.
Yeah.
So, a studio announced that they were making Glover 2 because they were like, the
nostalgia wells weren't quite dry yet.
Yeah, they were like,
there's a trickle of mud at the bottom.
Well, they liked it. So they were like, we like Glover, and we've paid an expensive lawyer to do all the business and acquire us the Glover license, and so we have that, and so we're going to make Glover 2. And then the people who actually own the Glover license were like, what you guys bought was the trademark, and that is not the same thing.
So congratulations, you can call your game Glover, but you can't use any of the Glover assets or...
You can use the word Glover in association with the title of a video game because you re-registered the trademark that Hasbro let slip, but you don't actually have the copyright or the IP to the game Glover because we bought that from Atari, who bought it from Hasbro in 2017. And so the one company is like, I'm very mad at this lawyer, and we're still going to make the game, it just won't be Glover.
It'll be more of a spiritual successor.
Yeah. And it's like, man.
What a roller coaster.
The bidding war for Glover went. I feel like the company that owned it, actually owned the trademark or the copyright on it.
Yeah.
Probably bought it with a bunch of other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then this company announced it, and they're like, could we actually make some money off this? Well, I guess we could license it to them. And then the other people are like, we already spent a whole ton of money getting this. They're not inclined to spend a bunch more money to get it again.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Golden Mushroom, which is the German game developer,
shocker.
I hope they get all their money back from their fucking lawyer, who they apparently paid to get this trademark, who at no point brought up, by the way, this doesn't actually do what you think it does.
That's one of those okay, I'll get you the trademark, wink wink.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is probably a miscommunication between German and American copyright trademark law.
Probably.
Maybe. Who knows? Hey, are you excited to play with your Nintendo Labo, but you're afraid that you're going to play a little bit too hard with those little cardboard bits? Well, you can now buy replacement cardboard for your Labo. So if your dog eats your Labo.
We're going to be playing Labo tomorrow.
On New Day Tuesday here.
Possibly a little too hard.
On stream. Hopefully not that hard, but
Full combat Labo.
If you want to see a bunch of Labo, that's going to happen.
The company that's making an upcoming, a Space Marine game?
It's Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr.
Right, got delayed,
and
they wrote an update on their Steam page saying, we're very sorry for the delay, and we'll make everybody work 90-hour weeks to get the game done. And reaction was extremely poor. Yeah. Basically, even people who are against crunch in the video game industry were obviously negative, but fans of the franchise were
they were like, don't do that to your employees?
Yeah,
they were delay it longer and just make a good game?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, how about you don't work insane hours and probably make a lot of mistakes because you're working 16, 17 hours a day, which is insane.
And
I appreciate
foolish.
The company did later, very, very quickly, say that was absolutely meant to be a joke, and honestly, I believe them.
I mean,
because there were also like developers on social media like who work for that company being like, yeah, we're not working now.
But I'm delighted to see that like the culture around like, hey, working crunch is actually not good for employees or the final product has like filtered its way down to fans, because everybody knows you don't do your best work when you're exhausted and you've been working 7 days a week, like 15 hours a day. So what's the point of any of it, right?
Yeah.
Take an extra 5 days. Take an extra 3 weeks. Delay it for 6 weeks and put out a really great game. Like, I would much rather that.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, people, like, it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, we get the joke, and it's not like you're not allowed to make the joke, but it's like not that funny because it's a real problem in game dev. And so, you know, they're like, we hope...
Don't even joke about it?
Yeah, they said, like, we hope that we have not tainted public opinion of our studio with this dumb thing that we said.
Now, a lot of people who work in, like, coding and development are like, yeah, no, they've done studies, like, anything past 7 hours is more mistakes than it's worth. And it's true, right? Like, people get tired. It's hard work. You're using your brain, right?
Well, and it's the... Yeah.
Delay it, just release a good game.
Of course, the connection between, like, you know, it's like we really don't want, you know, we want people to do the best work they can do and do crunch time, but then by the same token, if depending on the reaction when you do say that like a game is delayed, you know, that has to follow, right? You can't have no delays and also no crunch. Unfortunately, the way the industry works, something's got to give. So, you know, often the estimate for how long a game will take is not correct for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. If you're curious, the guy from Neocore Studio said that in the total overtime at Neocore in March for 60 people was 750 hours, which works out to about 12.5 additional hours per person for the month, which doesn't seem that bad. He said April, he added, will be, quote, similar, and compensation for this is overtime pay, vacation time for other periods, or less work hours on other days, and the employees can choose which of those they want, and the overtime is not forced.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because it turns out, like, when you're literally like, people aren't doing their best work.
Yeah.
And coding is very hard. You're solving a series of logic puzzles all day, essentially. Like, I think that people talk about, like, oh, just get them to crunch harder, don't understand how games, like, how computer programming works, right? They're just sitting there crunching numbers and being like, bring me more interns.
There's, when I was doing the Paul Quest series, there's a great bit in Space Quest 3. Where you go to Scumsoft,
right?
And when you're like sneaking around pretending to be a janitor, and they have like rows of cubicles of people coding with like a guy walking up and down whipping them as they.
Anyway, that is actually all the news that I had.
I was gonna. There is this thing about Puzzle Fighter.
Yeah.
Puzzle Fighter is a big. Is a Street Fighter game.
Yeah. Street Fighter Puyo Puyo.
Yeah. And they made this, there's been a couple versions of it, but the most recent version is one of these like always online energy downloads, all this kind of stuff.
Mobile, yeah.
And it's only been out for 8 months. And they're like, yeah, they're not really making that much money, so we're gonna cancel it. We're gonna turn off the servers. And because of how the game works, that's it. The game, you know, it was free to play, but presumably if you put money into the game to get special things, then it's gone. And they haven't made any announcements about, you know, making it so that they'll like doing an update to make it so you can still keep playing it.
Hooray!
Yep, mobile games.
Anyway,
yes,
games is a service.
Sadfart.wave.
We're gonna move to move to the subs now because I gotta try and record something between now and Dice Friends. But Dice Friends is later tonight
Yeah, it's a whole new
with a
campaign.
brand new, probably 2-episode campaign
Woo!
that Cameron's doing called Burning Bright with myself, Ian, Corey, and
What
Adam.
a Cameron name for a campaign.
It's good. I
mean,
like it.
it is actually a Cameron name for a campaign.
but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if you're like, we're running a campaign called Burning Bread, I'd be like, oh, it's Cameron DMing, right?
Yeah. So that should be good. And then yeah, tomorrow, New Day Tuesday, Labo, and then one more because James still is in PUBG partner tryout, and I don't know
How that's going.
And then Tuesday is now Talking Sim.
Yes.
So
And they're doing Spec Ops: The Line, I think.
yes, so that'll be fun.
So
tomorrow.
well,
Fun. That'll be a good
interesting.
stream worth
Enlightening.
watching.
Interesting.
But now the subs.
Starting with.
I'm just doing that bit from Princess Bride.
So am I.
Huh? Why didn't that work?
This happened during the crap shoot as well. I had to refresh it, and then like I had to do the little thingy in XSplit. I had to refresh the controls. Welp.
Continue fanfare.
So who's on Dice Friends with you tonight, Graham?
I just said it was me, Ian, Corey, and Adam are the players, and Cameron is DMing. And the players are myself and Corey and Ian and Adam.
And you're all
Adam's playing. Hey, RF232 with a 39-month resub, 39 months in a DB Doc t-shirt. Today is a good day.
Ash Burnham for 19 months says, you guys are just what I need to help me get through the end of a rough semester. My students are like the keel of a ship below sea level.
Ooh.
Oh, that teacher dope.
Tachani with a 35-month resub. I hope everyone's having a good day. I am, honestly.
And possibly Zoe for 12 months says a year. That's almost 2 years.
Surely that's Zoe. Possibly. Who knows?
Roughly 21 Smurfs for 31 months. Well, this has been a load of sheet.
Possibly Zoe. Roughly 21 Smurfs. We can say definitively Pongo Sapiens with a 50-month resub over 4 years.
Tedium is a brand new subscriber. Yeah.
Molly Lewis.
Hey.
Gifted by Rock Pusher. Thank you very much.
Hi, Molly. Mattman X311 with a 19-month resub. Welcome back.
Blue Monster 122 for 4 months says, I guess that's more than a season.
Krieger-san for 56 months.
Wow. User with name 17, 52-month resub. Welcome back.
Welcome, 17.
Apple Cork is a new subscriber. Yay.
Razia for 19 months. Welcome back.
Aveu, 17-month resub. 17 months of not forgetting to hit this button.
It's just a conspiracy. Wait, how do you do the water sprinkler dance? Why am I doing this?
8-month resub. Welcome back.
Feels like just yesterday I subscribed to Lure.
Peachy Prieto. Prieto?
Yeah.
Sure. For 17 months. Finally got to catch another stream live thanks to their 10-second pre-release. Oh, nice.
And thanks for 1,108 bits from Rock Pusher, Games and Ink, and Blade This.
Yay.
Appreciate it. Alrighty. So, come back in a couple hours for Dice Friends, and tomorrow, Nintendo Labo on New Day Tuesday. Gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today on CheckPoint. I'm gonna belch again. Sorry.
What a classic man you are.
Loading ready run. All class.